Get ready, because there are moments in life when God steps into your story so suddenly, so powerfully, that you can feel the atmosphere shift around you. And I believe with all my heart that you are standing on the edge of one of those moments right now. Some of you walked in today weary, some walked in confused, some walked in carrying battles no one else sees. But I want you to hear this with every fiber of your being. God's blessing is not waiting for the perfect day, the perfect season, or the perfect version of you. His blessing is ready to meet you in every situation, right where you are. You may think your circumstances are too messy, too complicated, too disappointing for God to work in. But that's the beautiful truth about Him. God does His greatest work in places where human strength runs out. He brings hope into places we have already given up on. He steps into moments we thought were final, and He rewrites the ending. I remember meeting a young man many years ago who told me, "I think God forgot about me." Life had crushed him. Every dream had collapsed. He was hurting, broken, and ready to walk away from everything. But after we prayed, he looked at me with tears flooding his eyes and said, "I feel something I haven't felt in years. Peace." That wasn't me. That wasn't a moment of positivity. That was God stepping into a hopeless situation and lighting it up with His presence. That same God is with you right now. You see, when God decides to bless you, it doesn't matter who tried to stop you. It doesn't matter who walked away from you. It doesn't matter what was taken from you or how long you've been waiting. God's blessing is not limited by your environment. His hand is not restricted by your past. His power is not weakened by your doubts. Even in the middle of your battles, His blessing can break through. Some of you are facing family struggles. Some are dealing with financial pressure. Others are carrying emotional wounds from people you trusted. And still others are battling a silence from heaven that makes you wonder if God even hears you. But listen closely. God does not bless you only when conditions are perfect. He blesses you to show you that He alone is your source, your strength, your deliverer, your healer, your restorer. Look through the scriptures and you'll see the same pattern again and again. God met people at their lowest moments, not their strongest. When Moses felt unqualified, God turned him into a leader. When Joseph was trapped in a prison, God was preparing him for a palace. When Daniel was surrounded by lions, God sent angels to protect him. When a widow had nothing but a drop of oil, God multiplied it until her need was met. And when a man hanging on a cross beside Jesus thought his story was over, Jesus spoke life into his final breath and said, "Today you will be with me in paradise." What does that mean for you? It means God is not intimidated by what you're facing. He's not overwhelmed by your weakness. He's not shocked by your mistakes. He is still the God who steps into broken places and releases blessings no one can explain. Sometimes His blessing shows up as strength when you feel like collapsing. Sometimes it appears as clarity when confusion clouds your mind. Sometimes it comes as unexpected favor. Sometimes it appears through a person He sends into your life at the exact moment you need them. And sometimes His blessing is simply His presence. Quiet, gentle, but powerful enough to calm the storm raging inside your heart. God's blessing is not always loud, not always dramatic, not always obvious, but it is always perfect. And it will always meet you exactly where you need it most. Maybe you've been praying for something for years and nothing seems to be moving. Maybe you've cried out in the darkness and wondered why God hasn't answered yet. Let me tell you something, delay is not denial. Silence does not mean absence. And unanswered prayers do not mean God is ignoring you. Sometimes He is preparing you. Sometimes He is building strength in you. Sometimes He is aligning things behind the scenes. And sometimes He is simply waiting for the right moment, the moment when His blessing will have the greatest impact on your life. God doesn't just bless you for today. He blesses you for where He's taking you. And when you walk into the blessing He has prepared, you will understand why the waiting was necessary, why the delays were important, why He closed certain doors, and why He allowed certain people to leave. What He has for you is bigger than what you lost, greater than what you expected, and more powerful than what you prayed for. Some of you feel unworthy of God's blessing. You feel like your mistakes disqualified you. You feel like your past erased your future. But hear me. God does not bless you because you are perfect. He blesses you because He is perfect. He does not pour out His goodness because you earned it. He pours it out because He is your Father, and His love is deeper than your failures. And when He places His hand on your life, when He begins to open doors no one can shut, when He begins to lift burdens you've carried for years, your enemies won't be able to stop it, your fears won't be able to block it, and your past won't be able to limit it. So get ready. Not because everything is going to be easy, but because God is going to be with you. Get ready, not because the path is smooth, but because His power is greater than any mountain in your way. Get ready, not because life will be perfect, but because His blessing will meet you in every situation, in joy and in sorrow, in victory and in struggle, in breakthroughs and in waiting. Lift your head, strengthen your heart, because the same God who split seas, who moved mountains, who raised the dead, who calmed storms, He is the God who walks with you. He is the God who fights for you. He is the God who blesses you not once, not occasionally, but continually. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not abandoned. God is moving toward you even now, and His blessing is about to meet you in ways you never imagined. Get ready. God's blessing is closer than you think. And it will meet you, yes, you, right where you are. God's blessing can reach you in every situation. No circumstance is too difficult for Him. Sometimes we look at our lives and think we are too far gone, too broken, too tangled in problems for God to work in us. We convince ourselves that our challenges are too big, our mistakes are too heavy, or our environment is too unfavorable for anything good to happen. But the truth is, God has never been limited by the conditions that limit us. He doesn't wait for everything to be smooth, quiet, or calm. He steps into moments when everything feels out of control and brings a blessing that only He could deliver. There is no situation that intimidates Him. The things that overwhelm us do not overwhelm God. When you are backed into a corner and feel like there is no way out, He sees a path you can't see. When doors slam shut in your face, He is preparing one that no one can lock. Even when you feel buried under stress, fear, or uncertainty, His blessing can break through the weight that's pressing you down. It doesn't matter how long the season has been, how deep the pain is, or how impossible the circumstances appear. God is not restricted by what restricts you. We have a tendency to believe that God moves only in peaceful moments, but throughout history, He has shown that He moves most powerfully in chaos. In the middle of storms, He speaks peace. In the middle of loss, He brings restoration. In the middle of fear, He releases courage. In the middle of weakness, He supplies supernatural strength. God's blessing is not confined to the mountaintop moments when everything is bright and clear. His blessing shines brightest in the valleys where we can't see our way forward. That's where He proves that His power is greater than anything standing against us. Some people think they need to fix everything first before God can bless them. They believe they need to clean up their past, correct their failures, or become someone stronger before they can expect anything from God. But that idea is completely opposite to the way God works. He meets you where you are, right in the center of your confusion, your fear, your brokenness, and your weakness. His blessing is designed to reach the places you cannot fix on your own. If you could repair everything yourself, you wouldn't need Him. But the fact that you can't is exactly why His blessing is so powerful. Because He fills the gaps you cannot fill and lifts burdens you cannot lift. There will be moments when life feels too heavy, when your strength feels too small, when your heart feels too tired to keep going. Yet even there, God is not distant. He can reach into the hardest seasons of your life, seasons that feel dry, painful, or hopeless, and pour out blessing that turns everything around. And His blessing doesn't always show up the way you expect. Sometimes it comes through a change in your heart before your situation changes. Sometimes it appears as unexpected favor. Sometimes it comes through wisdom that guides you. Sometimes it comes through a person He sends. And sometimes it comes through a quiet assurance that He is with you in every step. There is no darkness so deep that His light cannot reach it. No pain so great that His comfort cannot soothe it. No obstacle so strong that His power cannot overcome it. God's blessing is not fragile. It is not limited. It is not conditional on circumstances being ideal. It is unstoppable because it flows from a God who is unstoppable. Your lowest moments are often the places where God works His greatest miracles. We tend to believe that blessings come when everything is going well, when life is steady, when our hearts are strong and our plans are thriving. But life rarely works like that. Some of the most powerful moves of God happen when we feel weakest, when we are standing in the middle of confusion, or when we are walking through seasons that test everything inside us. It is in those moments, those deep, quiet, painful moments, where God reveals a side of Himself we would never have discovered in comfort. When life breaks you down, it strips away the illusion that you can handle everything on your own. It exposes the places where your strength runs out and forces you to confront your need for something greater than yourself. Those moments are not punishments. They are turning points. They are places where God meets you, lifts you, and begins working in ways you could never imagine. Your weakest hour can become the doorway to His greatest miracle. Because miracles are not given to the strong. They are given to the desperate, to the weary, to the ones who finally release their grip and say, God, I need You. Think about the times you've been brought to your knees. Moments when life hit you so hard you couldn't see the way forward. Times when you cried yourself to sleep or carried a weight so heavy that even breathing felt like a burden. You felt abandoned, forgotten, maybe even punished. But what you didn't realize then was that God was closer in that moment than He had been in a long time. Pain has a way of opening your heart in ways peace never could. Brokenness has a way of making you listen more carefully, seek more deeply, and depend more fully on God's presence. It's often in the crisis, when everything familiar falls apart, that God reveals His strength. When you lose something you thought you couldn't live without, He shows you He is your true foundation. When a problem becomes too heavy to carry, He steps in and lifts what you cannot lift. When a season of darkness surrounds you so completely that you feel lost, His light pierces through in a way that is unmistakably divine. Your lowest moments are not the end of God's power. They are the stage where His power shines brightest. We often look at the broken pieces of our lives and wonder how anything good can come from them. But God sees those pieces differently. To Him, they aren't signs of failure. They are ingredients for transformation. The very thing that made you fall apart can become the very place where He rebuilds you stronger, wiser, and more grounded in faith. What you thought was the breaking point becomes the beginning of a breakthrough. What you viewed as destruction becomes preparation for something greater. And when God moves in your lowest moment, you know it wasn't your strength, your intelligence, or your strategy that rescued you. You know it was Him. There is something powerful about being lifted when you had no strength left to stand. Something unforgettable about being healed when your heart had already accepted defeat. Something life-changing about seeing God make a way when you had run out of options. Your lowest moments don't disqualify you from God's miracles. They position you for them. Delays, silence, and waiting are not signs of denial but preparation. So often, when we pray for something and nothing seems to shift, we assume God has turned his face away. We interpret his quietness as rejection, his timing as resistance, and his delay as a closed door. But the reality is far deeper. God's silence is rarely a no. More often, it is his way of preparing you, shaping you, strengthening you, and positioning you for something bigger than what you ask for. What feels like stagnation to you may actually be divine construction happening behind the scenes. Waiting is one of the hardest experiences in life because it forces us to confront our need for control. We want answers now. We want direction now. We want breakthrough now. But God's timing has never been tied to our impatience. He moves according to purpose, not pressure. When he makes you wait, it is not because he is withholding something good, but because he is building something better. He sees things you don't see. He knows dangers you are unaware of. He understands the weight of the blessing you're praying for. And he makes sure your character is strong enough to carry it before he places it in your hands. Sometimes his silence protects you. If God spoke too soon, you might run ahead of his plan. If he opened the door too early, you might walk into something unprepared. If he answered every prayer with immediate clarity, you might rely on the blessing instead of the one who gives it. Waiting teaches trust. Silence teaches sensitivity. Delay teaches maturity. These uncomfortable seasons develop something in you that comfort never could. They anchor your faith, strengthen your patience, and refine your heart. There are moments in life when you feel like you're standing still while everyone else is moving forward. You watch others succeed, celebrate, and step into blessings while your own prayers seem suspended in the air. It can make you wonder if God has forgotten you or placed you at the end of the line. But waiting does not mean you're behind. It means God is aligning circumstances so that everything unfolds at the exact moment it was meant to. His timing is not accidental. It is intentional, precise, and purposeful. Look back on your life and you'll see it. Times you thought were delays eventually revealed themselves as protection. Opportunities you lost were actually detours steering you towards something better. Prayers that weren't answered immediately were setting the stage for blessings far greater than what you imagined. In the moment, it felt like silence. But later, you could see the hand of God weaving everything together in perfect order. Even in seasons when heaven seems quiet, God is not inactive. He is arranging people, timing, resources, and environments. He is softening hearts, opening doors, closing the wrong ones, and preparing the right ones. He is developing in you the strength needed to handle what you've been praying for. He is growing your faith to match the size of the blessing coming your way. What feels like a delay is often the last step before his breakthrough arrives. The waiting room is not a punishment, it is preparation. The silence is not absence, it is strategy. And the delay is not denial, it is the mark of a God who knows exactly when and how to bless you in the most powerful way. There comes a moment when everything you've walked through, every trial, every delay, every unanswered question, every prayer whispered in the dark, begins to make sense in the light of God's faithfulness. When you look back, you begin to see that God was not distant in your struggle. He was present in every step, working in ways you could not see, aligning circumstances, strengthening your heart, and preparing you for the very blessing you are now stepping toward. Nothing in your journey has been wasted. Not a tear, not a setback, not a season of waiting. Every part of it has been shaping you into someone who can recognize, carry, and appreciate what God is about to release into your life. Life is not meant to be lived without challenges. The valleys you passed through were not signs of God's absence, but places where He proved His nearness. The storms that tried to break you were the very storms that taught you how to stand. The nights you thought you wouldn't survive became the nights where God whispered strength into your soul. Even when you questioned Him, He never questioned you. Even when you doubted, He stayed faithful. And even when you felt unworthy, His love remained unshaken. Now you stand on the edge of a new season. A season where God is ready to meet you in every situation, not with the weight of your past, but with the promise of His purpose. You may not have seen it happening, but God has been preparing your heart for something greater than you imagine. He has been clearing away what was holding you back, healing what was broken inside you, and positioning you for the blessing that has been forming long before you even prayed for it. His timing is perfect, and every step of your journey has been leading you toward this moment. Not every answer will come the way you expect. Not every prayer will be fulfilled in the way you pictured. But God's ways are higher, His thoughts deeper, and His love far more intentional than anything we can comprehend. He knows exactly what you need, exactly when you need it, and exactly how to bring it into your life. Trusting Him is not always easy, but it is always worth it, because God has never failed anyone who put their hope in Him, and He will not start with you. So lift your head, strengthen your spirit, take a deep breath, and step forward with confidence. You are not walking alone, and you never have been. God goes before you, stands beside you, and guards you from behind. The blessing He has prepared is not something small or ordinary. It carries purpose, peace, provision, and transformation, and it will meet you in every season, in every challenge, in every moment ahead. What lies before you is not the continuation of your struggle, but the unfolding of God's goodness. This is your time to rise, your time to believe, your time to embrace what God has been preparing all along.